Well, the province of BC is touting its most recent flood strategy to help communities reduce risk and respond to extreme events. Now, Nathan Cullen, BC's Minister of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship, made the announcement at the end of last week. But those still dealing with the fallout from 2021's flooding say it's hard to get enthusiastic about the government's plan. And for more on this, we're joined by Jason Lum. He is the chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. Good morning to you, Jason.
Morning, Stephen.
Thank you for being with us. First off, where do you think the province's strategy is falling short?
Well, I think you highlighted it in your preamble. I think where it's falling short and where there's a bit of a missed opportunity is when you're announcing a strategy like this without significant funding to make it a reality. I think that's where you got a missed opportunity there.
And you have been working on enhanced flood mitigation planning since the floods in 2021 in the Fraser Valley. If there was funding and buy-in from the province, what would the situation look like right now? What kind of work would we see being done?
Well, a whole host of things. There's so many different projects here in the Lower Fraser where groups have been working diligently together, even earlier than the 2021 event. And I think without, the challenge with those is if we had funding that incentivized, kind of regional work to get that took into account some of the nature-based approaches that we have, work that that didn't have to kind of fit in the tightly prescripted kind of boxes that you do when you have to apply for these kind of lottery approach to grant funding. I think we'd be much further along. We know that there's billions of dollars in mitigative work that's out there and work that'll better prepare our communities. But unfortunately, every year we kind of do this work, we do this process where we throw our names into a hat and we compete against each other to try and gain the funds that are needed. I also worry a bit about the fact that we go into doing the study work and the preparatory work, and by the time we reach the stage where we're building or we're getting shovels in the ground, the work is shifted because the realities have shifted. What we once thought were out of the floodplain or were not at risk are now at risk because of the fact that the climate is changing so fast, and we're getting events like the rainfall event in the atmospheric river event in 2021 that completely inundate a system where we may have been doing preparatory work to build our dikes higher, and in fact we should have been looking at oversizing our culverts or setting dikes back and building, restoring wetlands and watersheds instead.
Do you feel, Jason, here we are 3 years later, and people probably think that this is something that's happened in the past. People are not thinking about the fact that there's still residents who are going through, still feeling the impact of this every day.
Yeah, and our collective memory seems to be so short, but I also worry a little bit about the fact that we're jumping from disaster to disaster.
Yeah.
So we're in a heat dome, then we're in a drought, we're in a prolonged wildfire season, and then we're back to flooding. What used to be flooding, we used to talk about the worry of the Fraser flood and the Frechette. I was looking at pictures yesterday of the Fraser near Prince George, and it's and it's completely low, and the snowpack is historically low. So the flood time of the year now that we're preparing for is in the fall instead of the spring.
Yeah.
So it's again, it's a changing climate, and we need to adapt. And the systems that we have in place right now don't adapt fast enough. And I worry a little bit about the fact that, again, a lot of good work has gone into this strategy, but without a significant funding package attached to it, that it'll be just another good strategy that kind of sits on a shelf collecting dust.
Jason, great to hear you this morning. Thanks very much, and best of luck to you and everybody else who's still feeling the impact there. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, Stephen.